once again, the director of the games, Dave Castro.
You guys ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go!
It is time to test your fitness. The 2017 season is underway, and for the first time ever in the Open, we see the dumbbells.
Man, you know, I mean, everyone was so curious about what this was going to be. I put it out on social media just to think what everyone thought it was going to be. A lot of people didn't think we would see it, and here it is. And everyone I talked to thought it was going to be dumbbell thrusters, and here we are with the dumbbell snatch. I like it.
And they're already through that first set of 10, working on the first set of 15 burpee box jump overs. Keep in mind the leader's name will be highlighted in blue, which is currently Patrick VELLNER on the left. Brent FIKOWSKI 1 rep behind in red.
Both these guys moving very consistent. Now we have to remember, just as in every CrossFit event like this, it's not the first round that really determines whether you're going to be the winner or not. And both these guys are very smart about pacing. So you can see exactly what they're doing. They're not crushing themselves. They know that they have a total of 150 dumbbell snatches. Oh, and let's just throw another 75 box jump overs at the same time onto that.
Now keep in mind, for everybody here, the near 400,000 athletes that are going to be taking on this event, you do have that 20-minute time cap, but here for these two athletes and the two in Paris right now, probably not going to be a factor with that time limit.
No, I think these guys are going to hammer through this. I mean, look at the way they're moving. They're so consistent, and granted, this is very, very early in the rep seam that we have to worry about. But, you know, I mean, overall, these guys, I really think that there's going to be a couple things that these guys need to really be paying attention to as they're going through this workout. Yeah, give it to me now. Right there, those 3 things I think are going to be really important. Consistent tempo, and what we're talking about there is, can you finish that last round the same tempo with all the movements, the dumbbells and the burpees, as you are in the first 2 rounds? If you can keep that consistent, you're going to be doing real well, and that's also keeping that rest time down. Then dumbbell efficiency. This workout, I believe, comes down to how you handle that dumbbell. You don't want to miss any reps, obviously. We haven't seen anybody switch that dumbbell in midair, which I think we're going to have to. I think we'll end up seeing a lot of athletes do that. You know, granted, these guys are getting it on the fly, but they don't want to miss that rep. So both heads have to touch the ground, and that's going to be the safest way to do that. Cycle time is going to be how fast they're moving, both the dumbbell and how fast they're moving through those burpees. Now, I said something about it earlier in the intro that I think that VELLNER has the advantage, being that he's a little bit shorter. So he has a little bit shorter distance to have to move the dumbbell, a little bit shorter distance on that burpee, the same thing. The only real advantage FIKOWSKI's going to have here is his height on that jump, which I just don't think is going to really matter enough. So if FIKOWSKI wants to improve his position, which he's already currently behind her just by a rep, but we're early, he's got to pick up that cycle time and that cycle speed for both of these movements.
There is rep number 60, which closes out round number 2 for VELLNER, the reigning 3rd fittest man on earth and rookie of the year from the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games. He opens up a 3-rep lead over FIKOWSKI.
Now, if you watch that technique that both these guys are doing, both these guys are extremely strong. So that 50-pound dumbbell is not heavy for them. They're games athletes. So because of that, look at what they're doing. They're completely saving their legs. They're really not using their legs at all, and they are bending over a lot. Now, granted, you can do that early. We have 150 reps of this. If any of these guys have an issue, low back issue, something where they start to burn out with any sort of high volume, this is going to really crush them at that particular point. You always want to keep your shoulders above your hips. Anytime your shoulders go below, you're just doing, it's an absolute assault on that low back.
So meanwhile, while this is going on in Montreal to kick off the men's action in the Open, we still have the women's action going on simultaneously in France. And this is a dead heat in progress between Briggs and Holta, and they're in round 3 on the burpee box jump overs already. Again, you can keep up with that one throughout its entirety over on the Second Screen Experience on the Facebook Live feed on the CrossFit site. So while they're working on finishing the 3rd round of burpee box jump overs, it's the beginning of the 3rd round of the burpee box jump overs back here in Montreal with VELLNER and FIKOWSKI. VELLNER continuing to hold a 2-rep advantage.
Both of these guys are doing the step-up technique for those burpees. I think that's pretty smart. The fact that we are doing a lot of reps of movement overall, you know, but between the two movements, you have to be able to conserve as much energy as possible. That stepping up, you can see Patrick right there stepped up, same thing with Fikowski. Both are stepping up, that's saving them energy as they go up and over that box.
Here in round number 3, working towards the magic number of 105, which is 3 reps, now 2 reps away for the reigning 3rd place finisher at the CrossFit Games. VELLNER with 1 rep remaining, and he moves into round number 4, starting with 40 dumbbell snatches. And if you think about it, you get to that 4th round, you're only 60 of 150 reps of this movement.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick is just approaching the halfway point of this event. Like, geez, oh man, Brandon, are you kidding me? We're just getting to the halfway point. So now there's a switch. Now the switch is we're now doing more dumbbell snatches than we are doing the burpee box jump overs. So it's about efficiency with that dumbbell. We talked about that earlier. I still don't see anyone really switching in midair. Brent, if you look over on the white t-shirt, is switching at the bottom very quickly. So if he's going to make up time, this is exactly what the longer, taller athlete needs to do. And he's got to make up the time here because he's really struggling on the burpee box since being too tall.
And that kind of plays into what we were talking about earlier, what you're throwing out there with those 3 keys, the cycle time, the efficiency, mostly that tempo, which has been pretty level throughout this entire thing for VELLNER, but it's been that up and down for Fikowski thus far.
Well, I mean, that's a problem, and I say that problem, quote unquote, with air quotes. Being a taller athlete, sometimes certain movements are either going to play into or out of your favor, and if it's out of your favor, your choice, the only option you really have is, okay, I just need to go faster than to make up the distance and make up the tempo. And he's doing that. If you watch the speed of that dumbbell, like he is actually starting to pick up some space on VELLNER by doing that. He's got to because he's going to start to lose it on the burpees.
5 reps remain here in the dumbbell snatches in round number 4 for Patrick VELLNER. 12 remain for Brent Fikowski, working towards rep 145. 160 will be the total completion of round number 4.
Now, one of the things we know about Brent Fikowski is he's a pacing master. So yes, he's behind right now in at this particular point, but like we said, just past about that halfway point. I think Brent Fikowski is looking more fresh than VELLNER was on those dumbbell snatches. And again, we get into that set of 40 and that set of 50, it all comes down to those dumbbell snatches.
Final 10 reps of round number 4 for Patrick VELLNER. We mentioned it earlier, the first podium finisher for the men's side of Canada since 2007. He's also just the 5th men's rookie to step on the podium in the Carson era. He joins Kyle Kasperbauer, Matt Fraser, Rich Froning, Josh Bridges. That's a pretty solid company there for VELLNER.
I've never heard of those guys before. I don't know who those guys are.
3 reps remaining here in round number 4. VELLNER now with 2 remaining. Fikowski has closed the gap just a little bit. It was about a 7-rep lead, now down to 4. And we go to the final round. 50 dumbbell snatches, 15 burpee box jump overs. We're at 8.5 minutes in, starting this 5th and final round.
So you can still see that Patrick VELLNER in the red shorts takes a second every single time he makes that switch.
So VELLNER into the 5th and final round. Fikowski is about to make his way there. That 5th and final round is underway as well in France, with Sam Briggs out in front on the right, just ahead of Kristen Holta, as they do work on their set of 50 dumbbell snatches. And these are the final 10 reps actually for Briggs on the right side of the screen in the smaller box on the right. So Sam Briggs, the engine from England, as she's been dubbed for many years now, putting that on display here in this event. She's threatening a possible 10-minute time in this 20-minute time cap event. So impressive times going on in France, and Sam is making her way to the box for her final 15 reps. Wow, that is just impressive. Well, keep going there in France on Facebook Live on the CrossFit page. You can keep up with that in its entirety with Briggs and Holta. That final round also in progress here in Montreal. It's VELLNER continuing to lead Fikowski by 9 reps, the differential.
We talked about consistency of tempo. VELLNER has not slowed down. He hasn't really had to increase his speed. Fikowski tried to do that. He was trying to be a little bit faster with his hand switching, but it looks like he's just starting to fatigue out a little bit. VELLNER's making that advancement by just keeping that consistency. He hasn't changed from rep 10 to rep 199.
25 reps remaining overall in this workout. We're going to the number 225, the magic number, to put the finishing touches here in VELLNER, who a week ago was coined by Dave Castro on an interview as a possible Games champion in the future. He's wearing the homage on his socks, actually, here with the Dave Castro socks. But VELLNER looking to start his podium defense in humongously impressive fashion. He is well out in front of Fikowski.
Well, again, this isn't saying that Brent Fikowski is doing a bad job by any means, but he is at the disadvantage being the taller athlete. But I'm just so impressed with how VELLNER is just staying consistent. He's being efficient with his movements all the way through. Look how low he stays on those blocks. That's saving energy. So even though he's a smaller, shorter athlete, he's saving energy and being able to continue that momentum.
Final 10 reps of 17.1 for VELLNER, who has just been coasting through this. And you can see that little bit of difficulty going from the snatches to the burpee box jump overs here on that start for Fikowski. And I would imagine for about 399,999 other athletes at this point in this. 5 reps remain for VELLNER. 1 year ago, he was the #1 seed out of Canada East going to the regionals. He wound up in 3rd place there behind Fraser and LaRouche. And he said that whole time he wanted to prove that #1 spot wasn't a fluke. And he's well on his way to possibly doing it again here. 11 minutes, 53 seconds for Patrick VELLNER.
Wow, you know what? This does not make me want to do this workout at all. Do you see the look of pain on his face? I don't want that. Thanks a lot, Pat.
And Fikowski with his final 3 reps, he knows he's about to get the humiliation treatment that these two are going to do. But that's a distant thought here at this point. Final rep for Fikowski, and he'll finish at 12:23.
That was a huge amount of work for both of those guys at that tempo and that speed. Unbelievable job.
Wow, we are starting off 17 in just devastating fashion on this one. This is a hard combination, and just look at the toll it's taken on 2 of the 4 fittest men on earth from 1 year ago.
Yeah, you know, the fact that they have that tiebreaker where you don't want to go slow, you don't want to break anything up because it's when you finish the round. So these guys have been also doing that, you know, trying to keep that up. They're trying to keep themselves going as fast as possible. Wow. And it was this looks like it still hurts.
Yeah, and it was that consistency, like you mentioned at the start of it, that gave the win to VELLNER here in this matchup. And we'll take a look back at what happened here in this heat. 17.1 on our replays, presented by 511.